Hello, I am Kathy Elmore, and you're listening to the K4 podcast, where our mission is to inspire women to fulfill their God-given purpose by seeking a Christ-centered life through kingdom-proof living. Listen and enjoy the journey to kingdom-proof living. Today's topic is mental health does not define me. My personal story with Dr. Keshia Keith. Welcome, Dr. Keshia,
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank
and
you for
so
this
glad you're
opportunity.
Yes, and we're so glad you're here to share your expertise and your personal story. So please tell our listeners about yourself.
Well, hello, everyone. I am Dr. Keshia Keith, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor as well. I have both of those, one from North Carolina and one from the state of South Carolina. I've been in the mental health field for about 18 years now. I'm the owner of Life Interrupted Counseling Services, where I provide individual counseling to adults and couples. I am also working to revamp some group work that I am doing so that others can be supported. Uh, just recently, my husband and I, we launched Life Interrupted Incorporated. It is a 501c3 corporation, and with that, we are doing mental health education and awareness. So, those are free workshops and classes and trainings. Those who attend in person are able to have a meal afterwards, because we don't want that to be a hindrance of people not attending and saying, "Well, I got to go home and cook." Or sometimes people are food deprived, and so this is their opportunity to also get a warm meal, before they go on to do what they need to do for the rest of their evening. And so we've enjoyed it, and I enjoy having these conversations. So I'm glad to have this opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Keisha, for joining us on today, sharing your expertise and your personal story.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Keisha, as we were talking and get ready for the podcast, one of your quotes is, and you were saying, you didn't have your T-shirt today, and it's Jesus is the source, the therapist is the resource, and that is just so powerful. So, can you tell us why that is one of your favorite quotes?
Okay. Absolutely. It's one of my favorite quotes because it is real for me, and
Mm-hmm.
it is reality for a lot of us. Jesus is absolutely the source. He's the source of everything. We in him we live, move, and have our being. He has provided resources down here, and I say the therapist is the resource because the therapist I equate to a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
um you go to the doctor if you hurt your toe, if your arm is broken, if you have a high fever and you just don't feel well. You're like, okay, let me check this out. That doctor is a resource for you because they are there to investigate what's going on with you physically. The therapist is there to investigate what's going on with you mentally. So I don't separate them because I feel like it's one and the same.
Right.
Because you can't have good physical health without good mental health, because
That's
your mind and the stresses that you have will increase any illness that you might have. You can
right.
have a cold, and where it typically would last a couple of days and and leave, it can last for weeks, and then
Right.
it can get worse, and you're like, what in the world is going on? This is just a cold. But how are you managing things? How are you mentally shifting things around? Like, is are there negative thoughts or negative situations that are happening that you just keep on replaying in your mind? And the more you do that, the more that stress builds up, the more that anxiety builds up, and that impacts your heart rate can go up, your blood pressure can go up, all
Mm-hmm.
these things can happen. So absolutely, we understand we were created by God. He put these things down here. He put people in place for us to be able to utilize. And you can have both. You
Right.
you can have Jesus and a therapist just like you can have Jesus and a doctor.
That is so good. I'm glad that you are bringing that out. So, would you please share your personal story with mental health, where
Yeah.
you are able to let our listeners know, because this is personal to you,
Mhm.
that you know that Jesus is the source, and you're a therapist yourself, a resource, but you also have your own personal story.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And my story begins when I was pregnant with our oldest son. And so with that, my husband was deployed. I was working on my master's degree program to become a therapist. And my son, when he was born, it really didn't go as planned on my birth plan, because I wrote that out and I had, great expectations. But some things shifted and his heart rate started to decrease. And so the doctors came in and asked if I wanted to wait it out or if I wanted to have a C-section. And I said, okay, let's go. This C-section it is because, I didn't want anything to happen, just trying to wait it out. And so we were prepped and we went in. They performed the C-section, but that whole thing of anticipation, waiting on your baby to cry, and all of those things that did not happen in that room. When they took our son out, he was not crying, and of course, there's a sheet over everything, so I can't see. My husband couldn't see. All we could do was hear people, moving around pretty quickly. And so what we later learned was they were trying to, suction him and all these things to just try to stimulate him to get him to cry. It took a few minutes, but eventually he did. And we were like, whew, okay, this is good. But it ended up that he went to the NICU. And so because he went to the NICU, he was pretty much the most, what I would say, the healthiest baby in the NICU. But because of his breathing and respiration, they wanted to make sure that everything was okay. So they needed to monitor him. So that meant I didn't really get that experience of him coming into my room and me taking care of him from that space and initially bonding with him. That had to happen later. So in that time, I really, I packed my feelings down. I tried to soldier on, as they say, and woman up, as we sometimes say as well. And so trying to keep on keeping on, doing all the things I needed to do for me to heal, because of course, I've been stitched up, so I still have to do these things.
Right.
All of that really impacted me in ways that I didn't even realize until several days later, when I started to not sleep. I would wake up intermittently in the night. I wasn't really eating, and I didn't even realize that I wasn't eating. I was kind of sporadically all over the place in the sense of I was typically an organized person, and I kept my list and everything. I was all out of sorts. And the thing that really got me was it was my birthday, right? The day before my birthday, actually. And my husband said, so what do you want to do tomorrow? And I was trying to figure out why he was asking me what I wanted to do tomorrow, because tomorrow was like Monday. And I'm thinking, the things we usually do on Monday. And he said, he looked at me and he stopped. He was like, you okay? And I looked at him and I was going, okay, what do you mean? Am I okay? And he's like, you know what tomorrow is, right? And he says April the 4th. And I was like, oh Lord. I said, I forgot, I've been doing too much. I forgot that it was my birthday.
You had a lot going on.
Exactly. And so from there, actually, it turned out that on my birthday, early that morning, I had what I call a break of sorts. And I woke up and I was fearful. Everything felt unsafe to me. And so my husband tried to ask me what was going on. And I really thought he was after me. So I ran out of my house. And when I ran out of my house, I ended up across the street at my neighbor's house. And I'm screaming and, crying and saying he's trying to get me. And my neighbor is trying to figure out what in the world is going on. So finally they called the ambulance. And then I called my mom and I was talking to her. The ambulance came, they took me to the hospital. And then I ended up staying there for evaluation for about 3 days. And so with that, they started doing assessments and things like that, and discovered that I was definitely dealing with postpartum. And I had some anxiety there as well. And so with that, I went through all the processes that I would be taking my now clients through, which
Mm-hmm.
is, being assessed, identifying what the issues are, what are the stressors, history, background, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And talking with them if they want to pursue anything that is, medication wise,
Mm-hmm.
talking with them about how to do that and get referrals and all of that type of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I learned a lot. It really was what I called, because I ended up writing a book about it, and it was called The Classroom of My Life,
Mm-hmm.
because it really was a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
It taught me that I'm thinking I'm going to go and help all these people, when
Mm-hmm.
really I needed to first look at me, and I
Mm-hmm.
really needed to first stop and be able to work through and identify what my own issues and stressors were,
Mm-hmm.
and get really serious about that before I could ever go and be effective with other people. And so from that, I had my own therapist for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I decided that yes, I will take this medicine for a little bit to be able to figure out this imbalance that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and I will do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it was not, I guess you could say, an easy thing for me at first, because I felt the shame and the guilt of,
Mm-hmm.
okay, wait, I'm supposed to have this together.
Right.
I mean, my husband has deployed several times, and I have been Miss Strong. I have been,
Mm-hmm.
Army Strong up here. So it just really caused me to stop and see myself. And I
Mm-hmm.
had to take inventory of what was important and what was not.
Mm-hmm.
And how the things that I was doing and stuff in my emotions and all of that had played a part in getting me to this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I really had to sit and reckon with that, and it allowed me to become a better person,
Mm-hmm.
with a different perspective on what it is to really know that counseling is beneficial. To
Mm-hmm.
know that, for me, because I cried out to God and I asked Him to help me figure it out, because I didn't know what in the world was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like my answer came in my road to mental health wellness, the road of having my resource as my therapist,
Mm-hmm.
having God and being able to
Right.
still talk to Him and know that He doesn't see me any differently than He
Right.
saw me about 5 days ago, before all of this, came to a head.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gave me a kind of, I think it helped me really, because I needed to walk in the shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And then being able to just take some steps in the shoes of someone who is feeling stressed, who is not balancing well.
Mm-hmm.
It birthed a lot of things from that point. And so even now, I do a retreat every year. It's called Drop Your Bags. And with the Drop Your Bags retreat, it's all about refocusing, regrouping, and reconnecting with who you are,
Mm-hmm.
working from the inside out. And so I take these ladies through a journey of identifying what is it that I need to shift. What
Mm-hmm.
is it that I need to take off my plate, because I think it's so great and so wonderful, but it's not serving me.
Right.
And
Right.
how do I really acknowledge my emotions in
Mm-hmm.
this? So yeah, a lot of things grew out of me being able to be uh accepting of, this is what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and it's happening to me, but it's going to create some things. It's going to work through me that I can give it and pour out to other people.
And that's good because as you said that it didn't define you, but
Right.
it prepared you for your journey
Yeah.
as now a doctor that's helping and inspiring others that are have walked in your shoes or
Mhm.
their mental health journey might not have developed from postpartum. It
Right.
could be trauma experience,
Right.
but through you being able to help them to let them know that I've experienced it. I'm
Hmm.
just not someone that has the degree that I have the book, but I have the actual experience.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and do you think that that makes um more of an impact on your clients knowing that you have that experience, the actual life experience?
Oh,
Do you? Yeah.
absolutely.
Do you
Yeah.
feel that makes them more of an impact, and they're more willing to listen at you to let you know that, okay, you can overcome that, you can